Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Taha Ahmed Fitness YouTube channel. The fitness is ubiquitous, so you can see like we're going to be talking about fitness and nutrition and overall health.
Yep.
So Taha, this is your channel. I am just like featuring today. And why are we doing this? Firstly, let's welcome our audience.
Welcome, everyone. This is my first ever podcast, as Hassan mentioned. And we'll be discussing Hassan's experience working with me in terms of his training, his nutrition, what has changed so far, and what he's learned. And he'll just be sharing his experience working with me.
So, why are we here? We are here because we're going to be documenting my fitness journey with Taha, and over the course of these 12 months, every month you're going to see how I'm evolving, how I'm transforming as Taha gives me advice on my fitness, my nutrition, my workouts, and also instilling new habits. Because one of the challenges that I've had this year, that even though I've recovered from injury, even though Taha's really helped me get my butt out of the house and into the gym, I still don't have a sustainable eating routine. And like 3 days a week, I am eating healthily, I'm eating clean, I'm eating green, and the next 4 days, I'm just partying it up. So this year is about, setting those new habits in so that Taha can coach me to success so I can be my most beautiful self. Like that's what I'm aiming for.
Yeah. Would you tell me what exactly are your goals in terms of your training and your nutrition? Like, what is it that you want to achieve? Like, simplify it for me.
More than anything else, because my background is as a performer, I want to have great cardiovascular fitness because I tend to lose breath when I'm performing on stage. So that's something I want to stop. Secondly, I want aesthetic fitness for now, right? Because again, I've like really let myself go. I am looking to look a certain way. I want to feel good and I want to look good. And I also do want to be strong, right? But for me, developing strength and developing like all the other habits are subservient to the larger goal of looking hot. Like if I am to summarize, I just want to look fit and strong. I want to look a certain way.
What exactly is a certain way? Do you have any ideal picture in your head? Like, again, we all consume media, so we all have this ideal, physique goals in our head. So if I were to ask you if you could, like, name someone or maybe, anyone.
I want to be like Henry Cavill, but I'm not sure whether he's taking steroids. So Henry Cavill without the steroids. Like if I am to like numerically break it down, I would really like to have my waist around 32 to 34 inches.
Okay.
And I want to move from a size double XL, which is my current size, double XL, to a size medium. Like that's what I'm looking at. And if I am moving into a size large, then I'd like that triangular physique where, I want to look good. I just want to look slimmer. I just want to wear clothes that are like slightly smaller than what I'm currently wearing because my choices are limited.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do want to fit in more clothes. That's like also what I'm looking at. So I don't really have like something defined, but Henry Cavill without steroids is the closest I can think of.
Okay, perfect. So in terms of your training, do you have any performance goals? Like again, you mentioned that you want to improve your cardiovascular health. Again, because you don't want to get out of breath while you're on stage.
Yeah.
But is there any other performance goals? You mentioned about fitting into like a smaller size.
Yeah.
Like in terms of your clothing, which is I think maybe a great progress metric, right? Because we can easily measure it. But in terms of performance, what exactly are you like looking to achieve?
I do have those goals. I have very clear goals.
Yeah, sure.
I want to be able to run a kilometer
Okay.
in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Right, that's 0.6 miles for American viewers.
Yeah.
I want to run like a kilometer in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I want to be able to run for 20 minutes
Okay.
without losing without getting exhausted, without losing breath, without like feeling like I'm about to collapse. So like 20 minutes of continuous running in terms of cardiovascular fitness. I would really love to be able to do 5 pull-ups without any assistance. Like that's also like a really good goal. I want to be able to do like a dead hang for like 4 minutes or 5 minutes of that as well. And I want to be able to lift my body weight in some of those compound exercises, which are like squats, bench press, shoulder presses, I want to do like half of my body weight because again my shoulders are generally really
Weaker.
weak.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of these compound movements, bench press, squats, deadlifts, I want to be able to like at least like 100 kilograms without.
Okay.
I don't know whether that's like possible or that's
Of course it is
unrealistic.
possible. No.
But like yeah, lifting my own body weight across my major muscle groups.
That is, I mean, these are very interesting performance goals. If we were to like even simplify, like what exactly are you willing to do about it now? So now we know, you have physique goals like Henry Cavill. In terms of your performance, right? You want to lift 100 kg on deadlift. You want to do like half of your body weight on shoulder press, which is like what, maybe 40, 50, 60 kg, pretty doable. And then you also want to like do dead hang and be able to do it for 4 or 5 minutes, again pretty doable. Now in terms of your investment, so your energy investment, your efforts, what exactly are you willing to put in? How many hours do you think you can easily spare for your fitness? And maybe if it comes to diet, are you willing to invest in preparing your meals or what?
Oh man, those are difficult questions. I think I can like go to the gym for like go to gym for 2 hours every 4 times a week.
Okay.
Right, and those 2 hours also include like a 20-minute walk to the gym and a
Okay.
20-minute walk back from the gym.
Okay.
So like so that's around like 80 minutes of working out at the gym with like 40 minutes of like walking back and forth. That's like 2 hours of like exercise 4 times a week. I'm also willing to do like cardio twice a week as well, and it can be like walking for an hour or doing like some HIIT low impact stuff. But that's something that I'm willing to do. I don't know whether it's realistic to get to the goals that I have based on the time effort that I'm putting in. But like this is something that I can manage. Meal prepping is something that I find very challenging and difficult. I don't think I'll be able to do that, but I am willing to follow a diet plan and track my nutrition and not eat candy because I love candy. I have like a major sweet tooth. I can't control myself. Yeah. So I'm willing to like let go of certain foods.
Let go of certain foods, like restrict them for a short period of time, or just
Yeah,
let go of them
yeah,
because you don't want to, or you can't afford to have them.
I like to restrict them for a short period of time, not like completely, because I think that's very unrealistic based on working with you, is what I figured out. But for example, like I would like to cut down on, which I have managed to do, like even now, like take less sugars, eat less processed carbs, which means I love biscuits, I love cookies, so eating less of those. Yeah.
And you also mentioned that you want to start tracking your food again, right?
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Tracking my food, like tracking my intake at the very least, like logging on my fitness pal, and because that's a tool that you had introduced, like being more mindful about what I'm eating. So tracking my food in terms of how many calories I'm putting into my body every day.
Okay. And how would you like use this tool? Like, how would you? So let's say now how many calories you're consuming. How would you incorporate this with your training? Like, how would you know that whether you're in a deficit or not? Because I mean, if your goal is to lose weight, how would you know if you're in a deficit, and how would you know if you're in a surplus, and how would you like make changes? Let's say if I'm not there, also, right? Because my major component of my coaching is to educate you, empower you, give you all the tools that you need so that you can do this on your own as well, right? So I like, even though I want to help you out, but I also want to like stay at a distance so that you are able to do this on your own as well. I'm there to guide you, but not necessarily interrupt you when you're doing your own thing,
Yeah.
right?
So, okay, man. Yeah, I do think that I have to do this on my own, right? If I keep on relying on you, it's always like waiting for that external motivation to come by, which I think is unsustainable.
Yep.
It has to come internally. So, what I can think of doing is that I will eat more proteins
Okay.
and I will do some intermittent fasting because I think it works for me personally. And I will do the days in which I know that I'm doing heavy lifting, I'll have more carbs, but I'm going to make my diet more protein dependent than carb dependent. Like more proteins, less carbs.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that I'm stopping carbs. I'm just having more protein.
So you mentioned that you want to have more protein dependent diet and you don't want to indulge in like more carbs, right? Why do you want to have more high protein diet? Like, let's just.
I don't want to. I have to. It's not like that this diet is a choice, but I do know that I have to uh, give up on certain habits, right? Because
Okay.
my habit is to overeat.
Okay.
So even when I have like these other options in front of me, I tend to. It's easier for me to give up things than like be somewhere in the middle with them. So being less carb dependent would mean that I am less likely to go in for that snack later, because my problem again is my inability to control myself. Because for me, if I've had one carb during the day, that means, oh, I can have like more carbs. So if I'm like more protein dependent, I will then have more protein based snacks.
Okay.
I will be doing like more protein based choices, right? But if I have like a balanced diet doesn't really work for me, because for me, then the balance completely goes away when I see another delicious carb waiting for me.
But how would high protein diet help you with your goals?
At least mentally, it's going to, again, from what I know, from what I've experienced as well, that it's going to help me lift better, lift
Okay.
cleaner. Also, like, it's really good for like muscle regeneration. And I just personally think that for the short term, like for the next 3 months at the least, I need to like bring in some control, and then I can introduce more carbs as I go along. But if I am to currently follow the path that I am on right now, then I will be going to the gym pretty regularly, but I will have no control over my diet. I'll always be yo-yoing.
Yeah.
One day fit, the next day just doing what I want to do. So I don't want that. I want to introduce some level of discipline in my eating.
Do you also struggle with hunger? Like, are there times when you can't really control your hunger and you want to just indulge in whatever is there in front of you? Or do you have like more sort of like self control?
I don't struggle with hunger. I struggle with boredom, right? Because I know there are 4 reasons why anyone eats.
Okay.
Either they're stressed,
Okay.
either they're bored, either they're actually hungry,
Yeah.
and there was another reason, or they're dehydrated, or
Okay.
they haven't had
Okay.
water, right?
Okay.
So for me, when I'm eating, it's less about hunger. It's more about those 3 things, which is like not having had enough water, or just feeling really stressed, or just really really bored and nothing to do. So give yourself that dopamine hit,
Yeah.
eat some chocolate.
I think there's like really great self awareness, but again, now that we're more aware of your patterns, we know that you indulge in food when you're either hungry or stressed. Actually, not hungry. This is bad. I'm really sorry about that. My throat's been really dry. Anyways, so I was just saying that now that we know that you tend to eat when you're stressed or when you're bored, right? What I mean, is there anything that we can do to sort of, overcome these patterns or change these patterns? If not change entirely, but then maybe, bring in some new habit to overlap it or maybe, switch it.
I think there are 2 new habits that I have experimented with in the last month, and I want to introduce more of them in my life, which is number one, doing more regular meditation, because I've joined the Waking Up app. I'm paying for it. It's Sam
Okay.
Harris's app. So it basically teaches you how to become a meditator from the ground up,
Okay.
and it's really, really good. So I'm just meditating, and again, I haven't been meditating for a week, but I want to get back into the habit because I did it for like 3 weeks and I really liked it. So just getting back into my meditation habit. Secondly, this is another habit that I've discovered through my own reading and research. It's called raising ambition. So before going to sleep and before starting the day, before going to sleep and after immediately waking up, it's really important to have your ambition lay bare in front of you. So ambition could be simply, oh, I want to get fit, and this fitness is going to lead me to more opportunities, and these opportunities will come my way because I will look good, I will feel good, I'll be able to embody that confidence.
Okay.
So just reconnecting with my goal of fitness and raising my ambition as to why is it that I want to be more fit. So putting in like a more conscious effort in making my day more intentional. So these are things that I've experimented with a little bit, and that's why I've been able to go to the gym regularly. But I need to do them more rigorously so that I can like bring this within my own dieting pattern as well. Yeah.
I think this is really good. Like, what you just said about setting ambitions as soon as you start your day. And I think this will help me greatly as well because when I wake up, sometimes, I'm like, my mindset is just not there. So waking up and then setting ambitions for the day and then for the rest of the week will also allow me to reach, not a reach, but like achieve my goals and just set tone for the day and for the week.
Yeah.
So I think if you're doing that, then I think that will be very beneficial. Um, this is good. What else though? What else are you like doing about it? Like, how do you think setting ambitions for the day will help you with your overeating? One, second, help you not eat when you're bored or when you're stressed. Like, how do you think these two things, like they're very different things, right? Like setting ambitions for the day and then being more mindful when you're stressed or bored. How do you think this will overlap?
Well, I think what would really work for me is that, well, for me to realize that just because I'm feeling something does not mean that I have to resort to food as a way of allaying my feelings, right? If I'm feeling a certain way, let's say if I'm bored and I'm like, oh, I want to reach out for this bar of chocolate, then immediately changing how I am feeling in that moment by thinking about what is the larger thing that is at stake,
Yeah.
and like focusing on my personal vision and aligning myself immediately with my future self. So
Yeah.
being in conversation with my future self, that Hassan who is fit, that Hassan who was willing to forego on eating just for the sake of eating, and instead focusing on eating for the sake of nourishing. I feel like once I'm able to get into that conversation with my future self,
Yeah.
I will be in a much better place in terms of like staying more committed
Yeah.
to my habit.
Okay, I think so. What do you think you can do about it when you know that you're bored and you're wanting food, right? So one thing that I suggest most of my clients that they start journaling because when you're stressed, right, there's some sort of feeling, there's some sort of emotion that you're experiencing, and what we do is we do not address it, and instead we sort of resort to food because this is the most common thing that we have learned since a childhood to rely on. Like when you're stressed, you go you eat. When you're angry, your parents just give you food, just calm you down. You are being clumsy, just like I don't know, maybe you wanted something like new toys or something. Your parents would have just given you some sort of candy. So we have built these relationship with the food since the childhood. Now that we know, this is what happens. And when you're stressed, you mentioned that you're kind of feeling a certain way. What exactly would you want to do when you're feeling that way? Sure, you can be more mindful, but is there anything that you can do to address those emotions you're feeling? Right? Maybe talk to someone, talk to your friend, talk to your spouse. I don't know, maybe just go out with your dog, so that you change these patterns, because your old self would start eating, and self-sabotaging behavior that we are more familiar with, right? So what is the new unfamiliar thing that you can do to overcome it?
I think what I can do is that I'll try to live more intentionally, and that means that I generally, when I am journaling, I do it at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day, right? So I don't have this habit of like doing it regularly, hour by hour.
Okay.
So what I would like to do instead is that maybe like every hour when I am up, take a minute or 2 minutes to just reflect on how I am feeling and documenting that on my phone's notes app. I am feeling like this, because oftentimes just by acknowledging the feeling, we're able to like get it out of the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is one thing I'd like to do, that I'd want to do a more regular hour by hour
Yeah.
review of what I am feeling,
Yeah.
so that I am in touch with my most conscious self. Because again, I tend to eat when I completely lay everything in the abandon. I'm like, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care about the results, I'm gonna do whatever. So if I am staying connected with myself, right, and it's a constant struggle and it has
Yeah.
to happen every single day, almost every single hour, the more present I am feeling with myself, the more likely I am not going to resort to
Yeah.
these terrible habits. I don't want my unconscious to kick in. So I think just an hourly review for a minute I think that's quite possible.
But don't you think it'll be like very mentally exhausting as well? Because like along with your work, your like other stuff that you're doing, right?
Okay, let me backtrack. Let me backtrack. When I am feeling hungry, I would like to reflect why is it that I want to reach out for food. Not when I'm feeling hungry. When I feel like reaching out for food, I would like to reflect, is it because I'm feeling hungry? Is it because I'm bored? Is it because I'm stressed? So when that feeling kicks in, when that desire kicks in, rather than immediately jumping in to my fridge and pulling something out, I'd like to create a gap between my action and response.
And how would you like to do that? How would
Again,
you
by
want
reflecting, by putting it on my notes app,
Okay.
and by asking myself, why am I doing this? And at least like trying to answer that question in 3 to 4 lines. So that doesn't have to happen like every hour. Maybe it can happen like every 3 hours. I think that's doable. Like having those reminders 4 times a day, I think that's quite possible.
100%. I think maybe one more thing that you can do is have more consistent eating patterns, right? So, like set time for when you should eat, right? This will give you more consistent energy throughout the day. And then maybe if you are like, experiencing these hunger pangs, like when you're stressed, when you're bored, you'd know that you're not necessarily hungry. And maybe it's because you're stressed, maybe it's because you're bored, or maybe it's because you just need some water.
Okay,
Because
fine. I like to do this. I would like to have my first meal of the day after I've worked out.
Okay.
So generally that would mean that I will eat around 1 p.m.
Okay.
and I would like to have my final meal before 9 p.m. So I want to do like an intermittent fasting window. So for me, that meal pattern would basically look like having my first meal between 1 to 3 p.m.
Okay.
Then having a snack sometime between like 5 to 6.
Okay.
And having dinner around 8 to 9. So these are like the 3 windows I like
Yeah.
to work in.
Yeah, you also mentioned that you would want to track your calories and your food, right?
Yeah.
So let's say now you're tracking, now you're, taking these meals at these specific hours. How many calories are you aiming for?
I think I'm aiming to have 2,500 calories every day.
2,500
Yeah,
calories.
based on what I need to do, based on based on the multiple conversations that we've had and the calculations that you've done, that 2,500 calories is what I should be aiming for. You've said
Okay.
2,300 calories. I think that's a bit difficult for me.
Okay.
So like 2,500 calories, still going to be like a massive reduction for me. So yeah.
Okay. But I mean, you also mentioned that your motivation is high right now, right?
Yeah.
So would you want to start with an aggressive cut, or do you think that would be like an unsustainable approach?
No, I want to start with an aggressive cut. I
Right.
really do, because at least for the first month, January, because again, there is this thing called the fresh start effect, right? At the
Yeah.
beginning of the year, I'm starting in December,
Yeah.
but again, I do know that I feel motivated, and this
Yeah.
year, my identity is being tied down to being more fit, because last year was about quitting smoking, right? That was like very tied to my identity, that I am not a smoker anymore.
Yeah.
In the coming year, I want to make this the year of discipline, the year of fitness, the year of feeling good about myself through my body and developing that awareness of myself, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would like to go with an aggressive cut for at
Yeah.
least the first 2 months.
At least the first 2 months or the first month?
Okay, one day at a time, at least the
One day
first
at a
month.
time, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we should just, go for the first month, like 4 weeks. See how your body responds to it, how you respond to it, and how your performance is like, right? Because we don't want to overdo it, because this is something that you've been doing for the past many, many years, right? We want to get out of this pattern. We want to introduce some new habits. And I think maybe one of the new habit we should really work on is, not keep falling back on the old pattern, because I think whenever you don't see the results, right, you change.
This is what happened yesterday. I swear to you, this is what happened yesterday. I have this really toxic habit of weighing myself every day, right?
Yeah.
So 2 days ago, my weight was 119
Yeah.
kilograms, right?
Okay.
And even though I was like eating like really, really well, and I was going to the gym regularly, the next day when I weighed myself, it was 120.6.
Okay.
And I lost my shit. I'm like, no matter what I do, I keep on gaining back my weight. For the last 2 days, I've just been eating shit. Because I was like, even when I'm trying, I'm still not getting the results. So what is the point?
Yeah.
So this is what happens. Like if I don't see that immediate result, if I'm not seeing that consistent decrease in my weight,
Yeah.
then I am likely to not give a shit about
Yeah.
following any pattern. Then I'm likely to go back to my old habits. This is literally what happened this week. This
This
week,
week, this
yeah.
week. I just remembered one of our conversations that we've had, and it was at the gym. We were working out, and we were also creating some content. And I was, being camera shy. And you said, Taha, this is okay. This is something that takes time, and it's never going to be linear, right? So you sort of, gave me this perspective, you taught me about it, but you don't follow the same thing. Why is that so?
Because again, I am the sort of person who's very type A. I want things to happen in like a
Immediately.
linear fashion, right?
Yeah.
I believe in like linearity.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't believe in like topsy turvy kind of a way to personal growth. I'm like, step one should lead to step two, should lead to step three. And that's not. So I think one thing that I'm realizing right now after talking to you, and this is a very new perspective for me, that fitness is not going to be
Linear.
linear. It's not going to be linear. Maybe day one, day two will be following a certain pattern. Maybe day three, I'll see an increase in my weight, and day five, like all those things will add up, and then
Yeah.
I'll see a decrease, right? So I just need to stay the course, stay the course, stay the course, and measure my results maybe a month down the line,
Sure.
not like a daily thing, because the daily thing isn't working for me.
Yeah.
It's actually bad for me.
So now that you're aware, we shouldn't track your progress daily.
Yeah.
You shouldn't step on the scale. Uh, I mean, again, all of this stuff. Again, it's also the relationship with the scale, right?
Yeah.
So whenever you step on the scale, you see the numbers going up, and you think, "Oh, I'm getting more fat," but most of the time, it's not the fat, right? You can't gain like 2 kgs of fat overnight. It's mostly water weight, right? That your body retains or holds on to because you have eaten a lot more carbs. Maybe you had some salty food, and just saying this out loud because I want to address this myth, and also sort of give people a perspective like if they step on the scale, they shouldn't just immediately start worrying about the numbers going up, right? The number is just a number. It's not teaching us or telling us about anything about our progress. um, if it's up, it could also be muscle, right? Why does it always have to be fat? So I think it's this relationship that we need to change. We need to see numbers as numbers, and not as something, which is like harmful.
So Taha, my question is, if someone is starting out in 2023
Okay.
and they're at that point where they haven't been to the gym for years, they have really terrible eating habits, their sleep cycle is really terrible, and they're completely out of shape, but the only thing that's going for them is a willingness to bring about a lifestyle change. Where can that person start from? How does one start?
I think that's like a. I mean, the answer is like very broad, but personally, what I would suggest is to not jump on the bandwagon just like any other person would, or just like how they would in the previous years, right? If someone's not worked out for a year and the only time they have is only when the new year starts, what they need to do is not do the same thing. They shouldn't repeat the same patterns, right? And then what I have noticed, like what most people do is they start, they hire personal trainers, they join boot camps, and then they start to do very high intensity stuff, something that they also know they can't sustain after a month or two, right? They do it for 2 weeks or 2 months, they get burned out, and then they quit. What they should instead do is they need to build more sustainable habits. They should start very small. If someone's like who's not moved in a year, right, they'll still get some results if they work out once a week, right? And then just do it in a way that it becomes more sustainable, and also not something that is like that also gives them like excruciating pain, because when you start working out for 5 days a week, when you join a boot camp, it just gets too much, right? It's just not only physically exhausting, but it's also mentally exhausting. Someone who's not done this, they'll find it very challenging, and this is again the same pattern than why people quit. and then they'll leave it for the next 10 months, then they jump on the next bandwagon when the new year starts, and it's just going to stay the same. Start small, simplify it for you. So I mean, if you want to stay active, right, start with maybe 1 or 2 workout a week. They don't have to lift very heavy, they can just do body weight, right? And they also don't have to work out for hours and hours, right? They can start very small, something that they can easily adhere to.
What about nutrition?
Nutrition, again, so again, first we need to understand where we're at, like what our current nutrition intake is like. If you don't know what we're doing, maybe they're just eating perfectly, but they're eating in such large portions that it's like causing the weight gain, or it's leading to weight gain. So first you need to assess your nutrition intake, what it is, what are the macro compositions. Again, macro compositions is something that should come like later on, right? But again, if someone's looking to improve their health and well-being, then sure, you would want to know what macro composition you're taking. Are you just eating high-fat foods? Are you just eating high-carb foods? Are you also eating proteins or not? So if someone's who's not moved in a year and their diets, consisted of high carbs and high fat food and barely any protein, they would have lost a lot of muscle while also simultaneously putting on more fat, because your body has a need of protein, right? Protein is just not for muscle regeneration, it's for a lot of other purposes, right? So your body needs some sort of protein every single day because of its requirement. So if you're not ingesting it, if you're not eating it, your body will utilize the already stored muscle. So you will lose muscle if you're not working out, and if your diet is high protein, high carb and high fat, you will keep on putting more muscle because you're eating in a surplus, and you'll keep on losing muscles.
You'll keep on gaining more fat.
More fat, right? And this is why people who keep on jumping on bandwagons, they start, a new diet, they start working out, and they go for boot camps, they go for, really high intensity exercises. They keep on losing muscles, and each time they stop dieting, they put on more fat, right? So this is a cycle. So someone who's, there's been research done on people who have lost like 15, 20 pounds in a month or two. They put back like the weight, and it's always double the amount of what they usually lose. So what we need to do is just really take it easy, really simplify things, to not do hardcore stuff, make it their lifestyle, make it a habit so that they can adhere to it, so that they can make lifelong changes. It shouldn't be for a month, it shouldn't be for 2 months. Exercising in particular has like many other benefits other than just weight loss and muscle gain, right? So people need to really improve their relationship with how they look at food, how they look at dieting, and how they look at working out. So I think that would maybe change with a little bit of education, and if they have the right knowledge, and if they also have someone who understands how it all works, not just like, I mean, not just any random trainer or any other coach, someone who actually understands how it works, and just push people to the limit that they can easily adhere to, and then see how their body is responding, how they're responding, and then make changes accordingly. Sorry for the very long answer.
No, it's a very good answer. Now brings me to my second question.
Sure.
Let's say someone's been working out for 3 months and they have like some decent habits.
Yeah.
How do you persevere? How do you stay consistent? And what would you recommend to somebody who is now regularly working out and exercising? How do they take it to the next level, and how do they stay consistent?
So taking to the next level, I think would come with, the initial goals that they had. So if someone is working out for 3 months consistently, and they're, also eating right, but now they want to, notch it up a little bit, and they want to get leaner. Maybe, that's their goal. Maybe they want to improve their endurance. Maybe they want to improve their strength or whatever. They should see where they're at. Again, assess, right? Because I think assessment is something that we don't generally do. We just see this is what we are, right, without assessing, without gauging like what's the progress been like, and we make very swift changes. We make changes that aren't sustainable, and then we jump on them, we start pursuing them, and then we don't see the results that we expected. Sorry, that we're expecting. We usually quit, and this is the pattern. I think this is something that we see with almost every dieter, and people who are just generally health enthusiasts or fitness enthusiasts. So if someone wants to notch it up a little bit, they can do it on their own. But I think the best bet would be to seek help from someone who already knows how to do it. People can do it on their own. I've done it on my own, but I've spent over a decade now, right? I've been working out since 2009. So I spent 13 years working out by myself, and it's been over 7 years since I've been training other people. So I have a lot of personal experience as well as professional experience. So if someone comes to me, I can easily guide them. But if someone who's just starting out, if they're trying to figure it out on their own, they can do it. It's going to take some time, but also it also comes with trial and error. So they will make mistakes, they'll injure themselves, they hurt themselves, they'll do a lot of stupid stuff, but at the end of the day they can figure it out. Now back to your question, how can how they can notch it up a little bit. See what their goals are really, and then see where they're at, and then see what exactly they'll have to do to fill this gap, like bridge this gap between their actual goal and where they're currently at, and then make step-by-step guide as to what to do and what should they do to get there. If it's performance, then they'll need to see how much of a difference there is that they need to sort of not overcome but maybe progress. If it's someone who's been running 5 miles a day and they want to run for a marathon, they'll have to progress very differently than someone who's trying to lift heavy weights at the gym. I don't know if it answers your question.
My question is, how can you stay consistent?
How can you stay consistent? I think consistency is something. I think everyone has a different definition of consistency. For me, it's doing things in and out, regardless of what I'm feeling like, what the environment is like, and sometimes there are times when I just don't want to do it. I still do it because I've made a commitment to myself. So I think maybe fulfilling those commitments that you've set for yourself and those promises is what's going to keep you consistent.
Yeah.
Very simple. Now in terms of workout, sometimes it'll be like, the way you've planned, sometimes it won't. And that is okay. But if you keep doing it, regardless of how it's been, you'll stay consistent at the end of 6 months. For example, if someone's made a plan to work out 5 days a week, right? And if they're 12 weeks in 3 months, if they were only able to put in 3 workouts for 8 weeks, but at the end of the day, at the end of the 3 months, they're still working out, they're consistent, pretty much consistent, right? People don't see this like this way. What they actually see is failure, because they're like, oh, we made a commitment to put in 5 workouts every single week for 3 months. We only did it for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And we only did it for 3 days a week. So we need to change the perspective, right? We need to see things differently. It's not black and white. It's not this or that. And it's also not like, again, people need to change their all or nothing mindset. It can never be all. Like, you can never expect to achieve, the exact, plans that you've made. And you can also not fail. I mean, if you, see things differently. I think I was having this conversation with this other client of mine the other day.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's been 3 months with you, and I've only been able to work out for maybe, 30 days. So what do you think of my progress? And I was like, listen, before, you started working with me, you weren't putting in any workout. So I think after 3 months, you've put in 30 workouts. For me, it's progress. And it's only going to improve from here onwards, right? Because you're also more self-aware. So consistency, doing things regardless of how things are.
I personally think that that the approach that you have is very, very encouraging and very, very motivating. But sometimes being hard on yourself and being negative is what you need. What do you have to say on that?
I think everyone is like that a little bit. We are all
What
hard
if
on
you're like, no,
ourselves.
I hate me. I have to do it because I hate me. I'm disgusted by me. You know, like using like negative feedback as a way of motivating ourselves. Do you think that's something that should
Not
exist?
sustainable. I've done this in the past when I was training for the military, and I would say people who do this, and if they can't stop, they need to seek professional help because it's something much deeper that's going on inside them that needs to be taken care of. And
So yeah, so only work out through positive
you
affirmations, and
sure, I mean, you can't always stay positive, you also can't always stay negative, but I mean, if negativity is what you always seek when you need to push yourself, it's not sustainable, right? There will be days when you won't even feel like doing anything, but again, if you're being constantly hard on yourself, how long do you think you can do that to yourself? You'll get burned out, you'll quit, right? When you won't have any energy to pursue this further. So, would you rather do this? I don't know actually. For me, it's been very different. I started with this negative mindset. I used to beat myself up actually. Like if I missed a workout, I would just go and punch on the wall. That was me 13 years ago. Um, and then the reason that I figured was, again, something much deeper going on inside me um, that needed taking care of. I sought professional help, and that has helped me actually.
Taha, I'm personally of the opinion that nothing succeeds like success. And in order for people to stay consistent with their goals, what's really important is for them to feel successful or for them to see those visual changes. So, if someone wants to get to their initial set of results, I'm not saying their final results, but where they see like a marked difference in the way that they perceive themselves and the way they feel around other people, or the numbers on the scales have changed for them, what is the quickest and best way of getting there?
I think tracking their habits, right? Because I'm just going to give like a very simple example. It's someone who weighs 150 kg. If they want to get down to 70, 75, 80 kg, right? If they start working out, they won't see any significant change in their first 3 months, right? But if that's the only metric of progress they measure, then it will get very hard for them to see any progress, right? It will be like non-significant for them, insignificant for them. But if they start tracking their habits, like movement, if they're working out and if they're tracking them, that's great. If they're also tracking their nutrition, that's also great. If they're tracking how they're feeling, right? And not just feeling, but I think feel, nutrition, movement, and then their mindset around things. If that's improving, that's also progress. If someone who's never worked out before, and if they start working out because they know now they're at um, risk of getting diabetes or cardiovascular diseases, and they start working out, those workouts, if they're tracking them, that's still progress for them because before they have never ever ever worked out, but now they are putting 2, 3, 4 workouts every single week. So tracking those small things can really lead to big impact. Um, was that your question? I think.
I think that's good enough.
Now regarding the other part, right, achieving results quickly, I think staying consistent long enough and not quitting is the quickest way to achieve results. People, I know personally people who have been dieting for years, possibly sometimes over decades. And what they do is they jump on a bandwagon, they do new trendy stuff, they follow new trendy diets, fad diets, and then when they get to a particular goal, they quit, they just stop, because what they've done is basically just followed instructions. They've not built healthy habits and they've not changed their lifestyle, right? So when they quit, they go back to the same pattern, same old habits, and then they start eating junk again. They start eating shit ton of food. They stop exercising, they stop being active, and which again leads them to weight gain. Something I mentioned early on is, when people lose weight, they put on, so after they stop dieting, they put on more weight. It's just, how our body works. I can go in more detail, but I think it's not right for this video. But so when they stop dieting, they put on more weight, and people who've been dieting for years, they do this every single years for a very small period of time, and they keep on repeating the same thing again and again and again, and to a point that they're still doing it after years, after decades, right? So I think the quickest way to get to your goals and to see results is to just do something long enough without quitting, so that you can achieve the goals and then maintain them, right? So someone who's lost 50 pounds in 2 years is still better than someone who's lost 100 pounds in 6 months and then gained 120 pounds again.
Yeah, you're right, because this keeps on happening with me as well, because I've lost like weight twice in my life and I've ended up gaining more weight than before. And I think moving forward from this, my goal is to actually lose a significant amount of weight sustainably so I can manage it, because losing weight is much harder than managing it.
Yeah.
Managing it is great. So Taha, thank you so much for this conversation. Actually, thank you so much for inviting me. But the purpose we're here is so that we can use these videos to document my own fitness journey and see how in 2023 I'm going to get closer to my goals. And as part of that, let's do some measurements and let's see my stats so that month to month we can hold me accountable and see how I'm able to follow through on our intention for the coming year. So Taha, the moment of truth is here. Let's see how much I weigh.
Perfect. 121 point something.
लेकिन ज़्यादा दिखा रहा है और 120.
I think it's also because you've had coffee, you've had food.
Jeans.
So yeah, that's the reason. Nothing else. Don't worry.
Okay. Now it's time for my measurements. We'll be doing these every month. My waist is 47 inches.
Your chest is 44 and a half. So without flexing, it's 14. Can you flex them? Okay, good. 14 and a half. Okay? Should we do the legs as well? Or
Legs are fine.
we can just keep it simple. Waist, chest, and arms. Right? we will track these three metrics. And
This guy has to go away. I also have like one more metric that I care about.
Sure.
So we have the waist as well. I also really do care about like reducing my belly.
Yeah.
My belly is 50 inches.
Okay.
50 inches. Need to get rid of these 50 inches.
Yeah. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love the goal. And I think this is what's also going to keep you accountable as well. Not just because, I'm working with you and I'm your coach and you're my client, no. But also because now we're also sharing this with
The world at large, yeah.
very large audience, right?
Yeah.
So
Hopefully a very large audience. Please watch this.
please watch them. If you like it, then please do comment, do share it, and just show us some love.
So as part of this initiative to make health and fitness information super accessible, Taha is also releasing a free habit tracker. You can
Yes.
find the link below, and this is a habit tracker that I will be using as well, and it's going to help me in my fitness journey. If you're interested in learning more about fitness in terms of nutrition, in terms of coaching, in terms of getting help, please reach out to Taha. And again, make sure that you are downloading the fitness tracker and are using it for your goals.
I think it's a brilliant tool to use when you're on your fitness journey. It's very simple. You'll be tracking your mindset habits. You'll also be tracking your movement habits and as well as your nutrition habits. There are some miscellaneous habits like, how some people, they're just very lazy when they get out of the bed and they leave it for the maids and their mother to come and make it for them. So maybe what you can do is you can also start from there, right? So if you start from like very basic habits, you can then lead on to like making bigger habits like, working out 5 times a week or, meal prepping or maybe eating, high protein meals every single day and stuff like that. So do download the habit tracker. The link will be shared in the description below. And thank you so much for watching.
Yeah. See you next month, and hopefully I will be looking slightly different.
100%. And if not physically, then mentally as well. Definitely.
We'll try for both.
Thank you.